Hi, everybody. This is Warren Jefarian. I'm the Dean of International Education, and I'm joined today by.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alicia, and I am the Study Abroad Advisor.
So our presentation today to all of you is the Office of International Education, and we're going to be talking to you about study abroad and international internships. So again, Warren Jefarian, I've been at the college for 9 years as the Dean of the office, and I oversee study abroad and our international students coming in and the internationalization of our campus.
And again, my name is Alicia. I'm the Study Abroad Advisor. I've been at Endicott for 5 years now, and I work with all of the students that are looking to go abroad on a traditional semester abroad, but also I work with the students who look to participate in our short-term faculty-led programs, which we offer and run each January and May.
So the first thing that we want to do is just to congratulate you on your acceptance to the college. We are really excited for all of you. This is a tremendously exciting time of your lives. And I know for myself, I love working at Endicott College. I've worked at many places over the course of my life around the world. And I have to say, Endicott is a really caring and loving place. And the colleagues here are great. Your faculty and your staff, everyone is just, it's a really, really great place to be. And I could say the same thing for my colleagues in this office. And I'm sure, Alicia, you feel the same way.
Yeah, it's got a really, I think one of the things that everybody, if you haven't heard the term yet, one of the big terms that gets thrown out a lot is community. And, you know, it's the Endicott community. You know, yes, it's campus, but, you know, there's a big focus on it. And I think that from your fellow classmates to your professors to, you know, us as being coworkers, we are all, you know, we're all in this place that is really wonderful. And I think that you're going to see a lot of that and you're going to love it.
So let me tell you a little bit more about the college itself and kind of our own worldview. So the college is really committed to the education of the whole student, and in our office in particular, but it permeates throughout all offices and schools within the college, is that we have a global outlook and we value different cultures and we value the importance of having global fluency. And so we believe very strongly that our students, as well as the internship and career office and everyone on this campus, that having this kind of a more global, wider worldview is essential in today's interconnected world. So one way to do that, of course, is by studying abroad. Now, we're working hard on campus, as we do every day, so that if a student doesn't have a study abroad experience, they're getting a different worldview shaped by the coursework that they're taking in the classrooms. But of course, a great way to do that is by studying abroad or doing an internship. So there are 3 ways where you can have this global experience, which is so valued by employers around the world. So one is by a faculty-led course. And I know some of you might have experienced this in high school by having a short-term trip led by a couple of professors. A couple of your teachers might have taken you to France or to Spain, for example. We have the same thing. I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about that. We also have the traditional semester abroad, but we also encourage students to do more of the European model of a year abroad. And that can happen. You don't have to do it at just one location. You can do it at 2 locations. And then I'm going to talk to you with Alicia about international internships. Because at Endicott, we're known for our award-winning and kind of novel approach to experiential learning. And you can do that abroad as well. So we'll talk about that today. I'm going to turn it over to Alicia.
Yes. All right. So I think that one of the things is that when students are thinking of going abroad, there are so many reasons why that comes into play. There are students that they're choosing to go abroad because it's going to enhance their academic experience. It's going to add something to their courses that are related to their major, related to the gen ed load that you take here. Some of them are saying, I want that personal experience to explore the world. And so there's a lot of reasons, but one of the things that we find is that when students they go abroad, they come back, and we say to them, all right, tell us some of the reasons that you went abroad, and then also what are some of the things that you took away from your experience. And so this list here is a compilation of things that when students go abroad, this is what maybe they don't expect to experience these right out of the gate, but when they return, they realize here are some of the things that came out of it, sort of above and beyond what they had anticipated. And a couple that I really want to highlight is, one of them is expanding your worldview. And that is something that no matter where you go, you're going to be in that home country, that place that you're going to call home for 4 months. But you're going to get out and you're going to explore. And based on those cultures that you experience, that is something that you're going to bring back with you. So there's expanding your worldview, learning about other cultures, that is tied to that. And becoming adaptable and boosting your confidence. They might sound perhaps a little odd and maybe cliched, but it's something that when students come back, they have found that for 4 months, they were in a position where they needed to say, this is the unknown, this is unfamiliar to me, and we've got to adapt, and we've got to kind of roll with the punches and let's do this. And so adaptability and boosting of confidence are the other two. So if I want to withdraw from this list, those would be the ones that we would say, here are some things to really focus on and really kind of shine in your time abroad. The other thing that is really wonderful about Endicott is that there are students that choose Endicott because of the study abroad opportunities and the international opportunities. And I say that because Endicott is a location that this is part of our culture. And we cater, our goal is to be able to have all students, no matter what your major is, to be able to go abroad. And we have had students come to us and say, I'm so excited to go abroad, and I chose Endicott because of the opportunity to go abroad within my major. And so one thing that we're really proud of is that we have about 40% of our students that once you enter as a first-year student, by the time your class graduates, about 40% of students have done something internationally. They have studied abroad on a traditional semester. They've done an international internship. They have participated in a short-term faculty-led program. And so for us, that's something that we're really proud of. And one thing that's wonderful to that number is that Endicott is not a college that mandates that students go abroad. And there are some colleges and universities that is a requirement, and that's not required at Endicott. So this speaks volumes to the fact that we have such a robust program and so many opportunities that we can say we have an average that's 4 times higher than the national average. And we can come out saying 40% of our students, a part of your class, will go abroad by the time you graduate. So that's something really exciting that we're proud of, and something that that would be hopefully that you're proud of to be a part of as well.
So I'm going to talk to you about, why it's so much a part of the culture here. How did we get to this point? Because it wasn't always so, but we've kind of done some things that I think differentiate Endicott from other institutions in terms of our international approach. So we have 28 locations around the world, and we're not trying to break the record on the most partnerships, but we need partnerships and partners that are aligned with our institution and our own worldview, right? So we have a very kind of high touch approach, very student centered, and you would expect the same if you're studying abroad as well. So we align ourselves with institutions that have that same kind of view towards student learning. And that covers when it comes down to residence halls and meal plans and all the rest of it. When it comes down to safety, where we choose to have our partners. And I'll talk a little bit more about credits and letter grades, because these are also things that definitely differentiate ourselves. But the thing to know is that we have 28 locations around the world. For every major at Endicott, we have opportunities for you around the world. And some, if you're in business, of course, most institutions around the world will have business offerings. But if you're in exercise science, or if you're in nursing, we're one of the only institutions in this area that I'm aware of, where nurses and education students can study abroad to the level that they can at Endicott College. So all majors are served. They're all taught in English. We encourage students to take another language when they're overseas, but it's not a requirement in every location, but it's a very good thing to have that skill set when you're applying for a job and just, just in life. But Endicott credits and letter grades transfer back to Endicott. Now that may seem like a small point, but the fact is that the vast majority of institutions, when you do your study abroad, the credits come back as transfer credits, so they don't have the same implication on your transcript the way they do at Endicott. So they'll come back as Endicott credits, and essentially it's as if you've never left in that sense. So your letter grades they're Endicott credits, which is a big point. Now, this is the map of our partners around the world, and we've got partnerships in almost every continent. And of course, a lot of our students are traveling around the world. If they go to, let's say they'll go to Italy, they're traveling throughout Europe, and some are going, to Morocco, or they're getting a whole global experience. So it's not as if they're going to one country and they're not able to travel. They certainly do. There are a lot of organized trips and different excursions as well that all of our partners have. But I think the underlying thing to say when I talk about a partner, it's that expectation that if something were to go wrong, and it's not just, I don't have enough hangers in my dresser, although we do sometimes get those questions and we get those things resolved. But if there's a learning challenge, or if there's a food allergy or something like that, which is a very common occurrence, it's a matter of picking up the phone or getting on Zoom and talking to our partners. So it's those real strong institutional relationships and bonds that we have. I've got every one of the university presidents that we work with, I've got their cell phones, and Alicia, the same with all the study abroad advisors that we are in constant communication. So a small point, but when you're going out there for the first time and you're building your confidence, it's important to know that you've got that safety net of Endicott with you, and also people that are looking out for your best interests. And it also puts your parents a little bit more at ease as well. One thing to note is that we never send students into countries where there might be a State Department travel warning, right? And so we're always constantly keeping on top of things. And the other thing is that we have not canceled our fall study abroad. We have no intention to, and our partners are working very diligently to do that. I know that's been a question that we've been asked. Another important point, along with the credits and the letter grades, is the fact that at Endicott, you'll pay the same tuition and fees. You pay Endicott tuition, Endicott housing, and not every program has the same full 19 meal plan the way that we do here on campus, but some locations, let's say in Florence, you'll make your own breakfast in your villa, and then you'll have lunch on the campus, and then you might make your dinner. So there's a variety of 3 meal plans. Some places have a 1 meal plan or 2. So it all depends. And then you've got our study abroad fee, which covers your international health insurance. Now, there are a couple of places where it's a little more expensive. One is in Switzerland and one is in Denmark, and you'll pay that added tuition. But essentially, you're paying Endicott the same way you normally would for a semester. Now, another great differentiator about Endicott is the fact that financial aid and scholarships that you might get from the college and elsewhere still apply. Not every college, and I would say we're one of the few that have that benefit. A lot of places, if you're on financial aid, you're then not allowed to, you're prevented from going on study abroad. So at Endicott, it's just the same way that it would normally be. Now, of course, if you've got other expenses, you want to go on personal travel, you want to go visit Paris and you're studying in Greece, that's on your own accord, passport and visas, and then round trip flights to and from the US. But on that note there about round trip airfare, the colleges really committed to a global education, as we've outlined to you. And one of the ways that we're really underscoring this is through our scholarships and free airfare to a certain number of our partner locations around the world. So if you go to Cork, Ireland, for example, where we have our own residence hall, and Cork's a beautiful city and has over 30 American multinational companies where a lot of our students are doing internships as well as studying at Cork Institute of Technology, you would get a $3,000 scholarship right off the top of whatever you pay for your tuition, whatever that final number is, you're getting $3,000 off of that, and then free round trip airfare. And one of our staff members, and I've been taking our students over to Cork now for the last 6 or 7 semesters, will take you over, we'll get you settled, and then we will get you into your orientation and then on your way. And other large groups we send over are to Spain and to Florence. And I know Alicia's been to Spain and it usually takes the students to Florence. So we have these group travels that we send students over on, but also if you're doing an international internship, we give you a $1,200 credit. We say towards airfare, but it's off the top of your tuition, and you can apply that to airfare or any other way that you so choose. So now I'm going to hand it back over to Alicia to talk about what some of the students say.
Yes. So when our students return from being abroad, we see the added benefit and value of reaching out to our students and asking them to advocate for study abroad. And we ask them, what are your takeaways? What words of wisdom, what advice would you give to students that are thinking of going abroad? So one thing that we do is we will ask students, for quotes. We'll ask them questions. And then what we'll do is we will also work with some of our students that are on campus to say, how best do we relay this information? From a student perspective, what's going to grab your attention? And so this right here, you can very clearly see that this is this presentation right here of James is a bit doctored. This is from one of our graphic design students. She actually is an international student who is getting her 4-year degree here at Endicott. And so we worked with Gabriella, who is the graphic design student, and we work with James. And James is one of our students in the School of Business. He studied abroad in Madrid last fall. And so what he had to say is that, so if you recall the list that I talked about a little bit earlier about the 10 reasons to study abroad. And so what James has said here ties back to that list. And so you can see that when students go, they're coming back and they're saying, yes, here's what I think, here's what I took away from this. James is mentioning that it's a life-changing experience. He's reiterating to us that it's a cultural experience and that it's important for everybody to go. As a business major, he chose to go to Madrid. Madrid is our school. The program that's in Madrid is our sister campus. We work with, so the program itself is called CIS Endicott International. And so the courses that are taught there are Endicott courses. So as a business major, James was able to go to Madrid and take the exact Endicott course in Madrid that he would be taking if he were here in Beverly. And so this is something that, so this quote here coming from James is just sort of reiterating that it's something everybody should participate in, that all business is global, we're all interconnected. And that can apply not just to business majors, but to other majors as well. And then we have Katie, who is, Katie is a psychology major, and she studied abroad also last fall, and she studied in Greece. And so this is something when Katie came back, she was able to speak to from her personal experience as well. And one of the things that she reiterated was the ability that you can go abroad, and when you come back, you realize that you've been able to overcome those fears. That you build that confidence, and that there is that level of personal growth that takes place. And so I think between James and between Katie, what's really wonderful is that these two students have been able to each give their own testimony to us, and they are advocates to other students. We will reach out to our students and we will invite them to join our pre-departure orientations. We will invite them to come to info sessions, to do tables around campus. And so Katie and James are just two really great examples of students that say, hey, you know what, I want to tell my story, and here's what I got out of my time abroad.
Yeah. And again, kudos to Gabriella from Venezuela, who is really a great graphic designer. She helped to touch up these photos, but just to show you kind of how our students are very talented. She's already got, even before finishing out this semester, she's already got a couple of job offers. So that's not unusual, but she helps out wherever she can. All right, so now the second way, and I mentioned it earlier, but the second way for you to have a global experience in Endicott is through one of our faculty-led trips. Now, it's not unlike what you would have had if you were, in high school. A lot of high schools will have this opportunity for students to do an experience. So we have experiences that are anywhere between 7 and 21 days. Typically, they're held in January and May, so when we're not in session. So in January, we've got about 3 weeks off, and in May, right after courses end and graduation commencement ends, then that next day, our trips go out for those 7 or 21 days. Now, they would have 12 to 16 students, so it's a relatively small cohort, 2 faculty leaders, and they confer between 1 and 3 credits, depending on the format. Oftentimes, we'll have a course that is 3 credits, and it's a fall semester course, like this Costa Rica, the Culture and Community Service. It's a fall course, and they get 3 credits for it. Sometimes it'll be, let's say, an Irish literature course, and you can go to Ireland. There's an optional travel component to it for 7 days, and you'll get 1 credit. And if you're going on like a 14-day, just a standalone trip, you'll get 2 credits. So that's a little technical, but you'll learn how it all works out. But the bottom line is that we organize these by major and by school. So the School of Sport Management might be running something. It's really run by our office and put together by our office. But the intention and the idea is a collaborative one between us and the schools, and we run these for the students. Now, there is an additional fee for these, of course, but the fees are your housing and your transportation and any of the other costs involved when you're there on the ground. And so we try to keep those costs as low as possible. We're not making any money. We're hoping that our students are getting out there and having these opportunities. And a lot of students are really enjoying them and getting a lot out of it. And then the last slide and thing we want to talk to you about before we answer your questions is about international internships. So if you think about the short-term trips, which we just talked about, and really any student can participate on these, including freshmen. So if you come in the fall, you come in late August, early September orientation, we'll be advertising short-term trips that'll take place in January, and you're eligible to do that. Now, after that, the next step, and that'll kind of get your feet wet, and then after that, you might be thinking, well, maybe sophomore year or junior year, I'll do a semester abroad or a year abroad. Or you might do an internship. We call it the 100 or 200 internship. That's freshman and sophomore year. You do those for 120 hours. Those are 3 weeks. So you can do a short-term internship overseas. This picture here of Matt Rinkus, he is a marketing communication major in the School of Communication. And he did his senior internship, the 480. It's 480 hours. Essentially, it's 12 to 15 weeks. He stayed in our residence hall in Cork. Instead of going to CIT, Cork Institute of Technology, to take classes, he would go off to a marketing firm whose major client was Facebook. And Matt actually worked on the rollout of Facebook's new rebranding and reimaging that they did last fall. So they rolled that out globally, and they have a big office in Dublin. And Matt went up, and here he is up in Dublin, where he went up and he helped make that pitch. So here's something that, local guy from West Hartford, he's he might not have had these opportunities, where now through Endicott and through our global reach, he's able to have this opportunity. Never thought he would have multiple job offers, both here in the US as a result, or over in Ireland, if he so chooses to do that. So that's kind of the Endicott story, but it's all kind of woven together. You know, it's classroom learning here, it's a global experience, it's your internships, but it all kind of works together. And like I said, you don't have to have a global experience or cross-cultural or multicultural experience on campus, because we're working with our, you know, the director of spiritual life and our faculty, and we have all kinds of programming going on campus. But great ways to do it is through this office, and we've got, you know, 3 solid opportunities for every student. So let me now, and I will take your questions. I noticed in the chat feature there was a couple, and Alicia, maybe we can.
Yeah, I've been writing them down, so I'm keeping tabs on everybody.
Right, so one of the question was about what are the extra fees that we're having to pay, right? So basically, like I said, tuition, room, and board, and you know, the board is the meal plan, and that's variable, but you'll always be guaranteed housing. Now, housing it can either be, it's going to be very variable, right? So if you're in Florence, you're going to have a villa someplace, an apartment. Other locations, you're going to have student accommodation. Like in Greece, in Athens, it's at when they had the Olympic Games in the early 2000s in Athens, it's actually where the U.S. Olympic team lived. So it's marble showers, it's very nice. But that's very variable, as is the meal plans. But essentially, what you're going to pay is, and this is very different for each person, the personal expenses, right? When you're over there, if you want to go buy a Gucci bag, if you're in Italy, that's going to have a certain price structure. Or if you're going to just stay locally and you know, be eating in little cafes, or so you can economize. We have on our website, and I've got the URL down there. It's studyabroad.endicott.edu. I encourage you to go there after our call, to click on that URL and then click on programs, and there will be a whole list of those short-term trips we talked about, but also our 28 university partners. And you can click on a partner, let's say Florence University Arts, and then you can learn all about what the specific costs are there, about the housing, about the meal plans, academic life, all the rest of it. So to answer your question, it really comes down, those variable costs are variable because it's really up to what the student will have. And we put for FAFSA, for financial aid, we have a number down there, and I think it's often around $3,000 that we average that a student would have to bring. But we're constantly talking to our return students to find out that number. So the next question I had received was about fall sports. So if I'm doing a fall sport, can I go in the spring, or from a spring athlete, can I go in the fall? So the answer is definitely yes. You can also be an athlete abroad. We have exchange agreements. You know, if you're going to the University of Birmingham in England, they send us their students here. And we just won a rugby championship because of one of our Irish students. I know one of our English athletes, he was on the cross-country team. And so there's a lot of opportunity to do your sport abroad in the off season or even in the season. And then the last question I fielded was about your biotechnology major. Where are good places to go? So just to note, I'll answer the question, but again, if you go to studyabroad.endicott.edu, you can do a search by your major. So if you click on advanced search, you put in biotechnology and it'll come up. Now, great place to go, Cork, Ireland, and also in Australia as well. But this is the role that Alicia plays, of course, she works with every one of our students, as do I, but that's Alicia's main function. And we give that kind of advice and counsel, and we're holding information sessions that she talked about. Those tables that she talked about are all over campus throughout the recruiting period, when you can just come up, stop by the table, talk to the student who would be a study abroad alum, and can answer your questions. And like I said, we're always holding information sessions throughout that period. And then one other thing to note is that it's usually the second Wednesday of the semester. We hold a study abroad fair. So our partners from around the world will all come to campus, and between 10 and 2 on that day, we have a study abroad fair. And you can just go up and talk to the people and find out, learn about more. And we encourage freshmen to be thinking about this, go to the fair and start advanced planning kind of your degree audit, the courses that you'll be taking over the course of your 4 years here, so that you're prepared. Even if you make a last minute decision to study abroad, we can still make it happen, but it's always best to be as prepared as possible.
Yes. So now I'm just going to pick up where Dean Jefarian left off. So the next question that I was able to know is, someone had asked about how study abroad works if you are part of the honors program. And so that's a really great question, and I'm happy that somebody asked that, because sometimes there is, sometimes students think that if they're part of the honors program that maybe they can't go abroad. So we have, so the ultimate answer to that is yes, it's entirely possible to go abroad if you are a student who is part of the honors program. In particular, though, we have 3 locations that we have identified as, if you are part of Endicott's honors program, if you go to one of these locations, they too have an honors program. And in collaboration with your professor, but also with Dean Quay, who is head of the honors program, there are 3 locations that really kind of speak to that. One of them is in Italy. And that is in Perugia, Italy. So they have an honors program, and in talks with Dean Quay, she has identified these courses and has said, yes, if you go to Perugia, if you go to the Umber Institute, this course will definitely count back, and here's how we can work this out. Another location is the American College of Greece. They have an honors program, and we had a student that was there last fall semester that was participating in a couple of the courses as part of the honors program there, also an honors student here. And then the third location is Charles University, which is located in Prague, in the Czech Republic. And so they too have a couple of required courses. And so there are 3 programs that, if a student comes to me and says, I'm part of the honors program, I would guide them to those 3. However, that doesn't mean that those are the only places that you can go. So then that would lead to just further talks with your advisor, with your dean, with Dean Quay, to say, here's what I need to fulfill. Here's where I'm interested in going. Is this possible? How do we do this? So that's the honors program. The next question that we got was tied to one that Dean Jefarian spoke about earlier, which was biotech. And so I have a student who asked about a particular location if they could go to. And so for biotech, there are a couple of locations that are going to work better than others. Cork is one of them. We actually added Cork in, so Cork Institute of Technology. That is a program that it was added in knowing that there was a benefit of helping engineering students, of helping our bio and biotech students. But we do have a couple of locations, depending on what courses you still need to fulfill as part of your degree audit, that can determine where you can go. It is a little bit more difficult, and this is sort of how I'm going to address this particular student's question. It's a little bit more difficult with our programs that are located in Asia, but not impossible. And so that would just be something that we'd have to do a little bit more legwork on, but it could be something that if we can find something that can line up, that might be possible as well. Yeah. I have a question of what year do students typically go abroad? And that is, so the great thing about that is that that's sort of a multi-layered answer. So the first year that you're eligible to go abroad is your sophomore year. So as soon as your first semester of sophomore year, that is when you're able to go abroad. You can go abroad sophomore year, you can go abroad junior year. Junior year tends to be the most typical year that students will go abroad, but you can go sophomore year, you can go junior year. You can do a combination of the two. You can, and this does happen a lot. a student might go their sophomore year, they'll come, say one semester their sophomore year, they'll come back, and then they'll go again their junior year for a semester. Or alternatively, a student might wait until their junior year, go for a semester, and then they'll do their senior internship abroad, because that is also a possibility. So the what year can you go there are many answers to that. And it's just a matter of how you want to tackle that. How much do you want to go abroad? And so it's great that students start thinking about that right out of the gate. And it's all about lining it up. And that's definitely something that I get that question a lot. And so I can help students in sort of figuring out, here's how you do this, and here's a conversation to have with your advisor.
So one thing I'll just say about that is just the short answer really is you can't go freshman year. You can go sophomore year and junior year. Senior year, it can happen in rare occasions, but essentially the vast majority of students in the fall semester are doing their international internship the way that Matt Rinkus did in Ireland. And they're working on their senior thesis. And then in the spring, they're doing coursework and then their senior thesis too, which is when they're really putting that, they're writing and then presenting their senior thesis. So while it has happened, it's a rarity, but freshman year, you can go on the short-term trips and you can do your international internship. So I'll just touch on a couple of questions there about international internships. So if you're a freshman, when you would do that, again, typically it's going to be in January. That's when you do your short-term trip, your short-term, international internship. More often, students are able to do it in the summer after their freshman year, but typically it's in January. And then when it comes down to education majors doing their internships, when it comes to education and also for nursing students, while you can study abroad, your practical experiences, because they're both state regulated, you can't take education or nursing courses abroad. You can take gen ed and other elective classes, and the same is true for your practical experience. However, in education, for example, we have run a number of short-term trips just for education majors that permits them to go out with Dean Quay and others. They have great experiences, but then there are also both education and nursing majors study abroad in, really disproportionately large numbers relative to the size of each of those schools. I'm not sure how much time we have left here, but we'll try to. Now, psychology was a question. What locations are available, most recommended for psych majors? Psychology is one of the most popular, if it isn't the most popular, maybe next to business, majors at the college. And there are, just like business, there are just many, many, many different opportunities for psychology majors. And I think the thing to do would be to look on, not to show preference to one or another, but most institutions have psychology. And, it really will then come down to like the second question is, where do you want to be? What do you want to do? But I think, at the outset of thinking about studying abroad, we're always wanting students to say, don't start, hey, Dean Jefarian, I'd like to study abroad because I want to go surfing at Manly Beach in Australia, right? It's, if you're a business major, think about what studying abroad in Manly is going to do for you, and then in Australia, and think about it from a global business perspective. And yes, there's going to be side benefits to it, of course, but those are things that we are look to. So I would say that another question, Alicia, was about exercise science.
Yeah, so that one is, so for exercise science majors, the program that comes to top up, so there's, this is going to be a location sort of, because one is a bit further away. So the program that first comes to mind is whenever someone says, I'm an exercise science major, where should I go? One of my first recommendations, or questions rather, is, are you interested in going to Australia? Central Queensland University is going to be the location where if someone, and I have a list here, I've been jotting it down, But Central Queensland University is going to be one of my top recommendations for exercise science majors. And in that they have an exercise science department. And so my response to where should I go would be Central Queensland University. You can also go to the University of Birmingham. So if you want to, if Australia is a little too far away for you, and you say, you know what, I really want to stick to Europe, you've got the University of Birmingham. So that's in Birmingham, England, which is 90 minutes outside of London. You could go to the American College of Greece. They have also a really strong psychology program there. You could go to Ireland. So I would say my top 4 that I would give for exercise science, and oddly enough, just going back for a second, for psychology, the locations for psychology, those also overlap. So I would say Central Queensland University for both psych and exercise science, the American College of Greece for both of them, Cork Institute of Technology for both of them. And for exercise science, that's where I would throw in Birmingham as well. One of the questions that I want to make sure that we tackle is there's a student that asked about if they're a nursing major, what does that look like? And so what's really great is Dean Jefarian had mentioned this earlier, is that Endicott is one of the locations where if you're a nursing major, you can study abroad as a nursing major for a full semester, should you choose Endicott. And that is something that has a really great story behind it. That wasn't always the case. I've been at Endicott for 5 years, and when I started, nursing majors couldn't go abroad for a full semester. But they changed that. The faculty and the staff, they reworked the curriculum. And so the way that it works now is that as a nursing major, you're able to go abroad for 1 semester during your junior year. You declare that in advance. So it is further in advance, but the reasoning for that is you identify and say, during my junior year, I want to go abroad, and then you pick either fall semester or you pick the spring semester. And then your courses you work with your dean and your advisor, and your courses are lined up knowing that they're going to set you up that you're going to be able to be abroad for the fall or the spring, and the opposite semester, you're going to be in Beverly and you're going to be completing the required clinical rotations as well as the required courses. So it's completely possible. It's been a really wonderful addition and a phenomenal change to the academics within the nursing program. So that's definitely something that I wanted to throw out and make sure that we're able to do that and sort of touch upon that.
Great. Thank you, Alicia. Okay, so I just want to wrap up, and I want to again congratulate you very sincerely. This is a very exciting time in your lives. Endicott is a very, as I said at the beginning, very warm and welcoming. It's a real community. And I have to say, I've lived and worked around the world, and I feel like this is my home. And it's my home because of the great community spirit that we have. It's a real thing. It's not contrived. It's not just made up. It's a real sense of collaboration. And you want to go to an institution where people are felt taken care of, and that we have your best interest at heart, which we do. So thank you very much. Congratulations. We're sorry that we had to meet under these conditions. But, we're all working through this. Brighter days are ahead. Study abroad is going to still be there. And we just, wish you all the best in this last semester as in high school, and we look forward to having you on our just beautiful campus. And just always think that and know that study abroad is something that can be a part of your educational experience at the college. So thank you for your time.
Yes.
And for all those who celebrate, happy Easter and happy Passover. Take care.
Yes, thank you all.